And while we await a response, we're still waiting to learn the answers to some of our most pressing questions. Were there shortfalls or missteps from the state agency meant to protect Oakley while in foster care?
Fox 13 News reporter Jennifer Lee is live in the newsroom to explain what we know so far. Jen?
David and Jamie, we've reached out, but the Department of Children, Youth and Families has not provided answers to some of our basic questions about Carlson's care and placement these last few years. Tonight, we hear from an independent office that investigates complaints of abuse and neglect within the state child welfare system. Starting at 7 months old, we're learning Oakley Carlson was in the care of her foster family until right before she turned 3 in late 2019 when she was returned to her parents. The director of the Washington State Office of the Family and Children's Ombuds says that's usually the goal.
The primary goal is reunification and making sure that the parents have the opportunity to engage in remedial services that would address whatever parental deficiency led the child to enter state care.
But now Carlson's parents are in police custody for investigation of manslaughter while the search continues for the missing 5-year-old. Patrick Dowd's office investigates complaints of abuse and neglect regarding children and families involved in the state child welfare system. He can't specifically comment on this case, but says it can be a tricky balance within the state system to protect these children.
The harm from leaving the child in a possibly kind of neglectful or abusive situation in the home, in the family's home, versus the trauma of removing the child and the separation from the parent and possibly siblings.
Dowd says usually Child Protective Services conducts an investigation before a child is removed from a parent's care.
And if it reaches a point where the CPS worker believes that the child is at imminent risk of harm and has been abused or neglected, then the worker would have to go to court and present that information to a judge.
He says it's not uncommon for a child to be in foster care for a period of 1 or 2 years, like young Oakley was. But there are federal and state laws that require the court to look at the length of time a child is in out-of-home care.
And at a certain point, the court has to either order the department to seek a alternative permanent plan, which could include termination of parental rights and adoption, or make a finding that there's a good cause to continue reunification efforts and not to pursue an alternative plan.
While hope remains alive for Oakley's safe return, Dowd says in the case of a child fatality due to abuse or neglect with a family that has prior history with the child welfare system, those cases go under executive review, which his office takes part in.
Well, our office was established in large part to respond to concerns about child safety.
The director of the Office of the Family and Children's Ombuds says law enforcement has the authority to take a child into protective custody if they see imminent risk of harm. Dowd says CPS workers, on the other hand, do not. He says they must go through checks and balances within the courts and convince a judge. We'll continue following developments in this case and bring you updates. Jamie and David.